Your patients are Googling before they call you. They're watching YouTube videos, reading Reddit threads, piecing together a medical picture from sources that may not have nothing to do with their actual conditions. By the time they sit across from you, they have already either talked themselves into a diagnosis or talked themselves out of a treatment. And here is the uncomfortable part. That confusion it's happening whether or not you are doing anything about it. The question is not whether your patients are researching you, they are. The question is whether your voice is part of what they find. So your patients are already researching you online. The question is whether they'll find your voice or someone else's. A podcast changes that dynamic. It gives you a way to be the calm, informed voice they encountered before the appointment, not after the confusion. Today, I want to walk you through exactly what a podcast does for a medical or a healthcare practice, why audio specifically works so well in this context, and how to start without becoming another project on your plate. What a medical podcast actually does. And let me be direct about something first. A podcast for a healthcare professional is not a marketing tool in a traditional sense. It is not about impressions or reach or conversion rates. It's about something much more specific and something more valuable. It is about building familiarity before the first conversation. Think about what happens right now when a new patient decides they might need you. They search, they read reviews, they look at your website, they try to figure out if you are the kind of provider they can trust. All of that happens in dark without you in the room, with no way for you to actual expertise to come through. A podcast puts you in that research phase. It lets your voice, your real voice, your thinking, your way of explaining things be the part of what they find before they ever contact you. So here is what actually changes in practice. Intake anxiety drops. Patients who have already heard you explain a procedure, a condition, or a treatment approach arrive less anxious and more prepared. They ask better questions. They are more in control of the conversation. That makes your job easier and their experience better. So the repetition becomes optional. Instead of explaining the same pre procedure instructions or post treatment expectations 5 times a day. You point patients to an episode. The information is already there, clearly explained, available on demand. You get your time back. So consultations runs differently. An educated patient does not need a 15-minute overview from scratch. They arrive ready for the real conversations about their specific situation. The dynamic shift from you presenting to you problem solving together. Trust builds before you meet. People choose providers they feel they already know. Audio is one of the most intimate media formats that exist. A voice in your ear speaking directly to you feels personal in a way that a website simply does not. Before a patient calls you, they are deciding whether to trust you or not. Podcast gives them a reason to say yes before you say a word in person. The most common questions I get from healthcare professionals considering a podcast is, what do I even say? I don't want to give medical advice on the internet. That it is completely reasonable instinct. And the good news is that the most valuable podcast content for a healthcare professional has almost nothing to do with diagnosis or treatment recommendations. It is about education, expectations, setting, and demystifying the experience of being a patient. Here are the categories that works best. Procedure explainers walk through what a common procedure involves from the patient's perspective. What should they expect? What is the experience like? What do most people worry about that turns out to be a non issue? This type of episode reduces fears, sets accurate expectations, and positions you as someone who thinks about the patient experience, not just the clinical outcome. So, common misconceptions. Every specialty has them. The things patients consistently believe that are either wrong, outdated, or based on something they read that does not apply to their situation. So clearing up those misconceptions on audio, it's incredibly valuable because it addresses objections before they become barriers. Then we have the what to do if series. What should someone do if they notice any specific symptoms? What should they do before their first appointment? What should they ask at a follow up? 3 episodes are evergreen, highly searchable, and directly useful to someone who is already in your patient funnel. The what we actually look for episodes of pulling back the curtains on clinical decisions in plain language without compromising patients' confidentiality is one of the most engaging things a healthcare provider can talk about. People are genuinely curious about how you think. Give them a glimpse. One note on disclaimers: keep them simple and say them once per episode. Something like, everything I share here is general information, not personalized medical advice. For anything specific to your situation, work directly with your provider. Clean, professional, it protects you without derailing the episodes. You do not need to give them medical advice on your podcast. You just need to give them clarity. That's what your patients are searching for. And it's what earns their trust before they ever walk through your door. The format I recommend most for healthcare professionals starting out is short solo episodes, 10 to 15 minutes, one topic, one clear takeaway. Here is why that works specifically in this context. Your patients are busy. They're often searching your specialty in spare moments, a lunch break, a commute, a 10-minute before bed when a symptom is worrying them. A 10-minute episode fits those moments in a way that a 40-minute deep dive does not. Short episodes are also significantly easier to batch. You can outline 3 episodes in 20 minutes and record them back to back in under an hour. That means a single focus session every 2 weeks can keep you publishing weekly for a month. And here is the simple structure that works for almost any healthcare topic. 30 seconds. What this episode covers and who is it for? One sentence. Today, I want to walk you through what to expect from your first cardiology consultation so you can arrive feeling prepared instead of anxious. 3 to 4 minutes. The context. What is the situation? What do most people in this position feel or believe? Name the experience accurately so your listener feels seen before you teach them anything. So, 5 to 6 minutes is the information, one clear explanation in plain language with one concrete example or scenario that makes it real. 2 minutes, the next step, one specific thing they can do, ask, or look out for, not a list, one thing. 30 seconds, the disclaimer, and a brief close. On audio quality, your patients expect a level of professionalism that matches the environment that you work. Echoey, muffled audio undermines your credibility you have built everywhere else. A clean microphone, headphone for monitoring, and a quiet room are the baseline. That it is genuinely all you need to start. The bar for a healthcare podcast is not perfection, it's consistency and clarity. These are the same 2 things your patients already expect you in person. And now, why audio specifically. And I want to spend a few minutes on this before we close because I think it is worth really understanding why audio works so well for healthcare content specifically. Video requires presence. People watch videos when they are ready to watch. Audio goes where people already are on a walk, in a car, doing dishes, laying awake at 11 p.m., worrying about a diagnosis they Googled. The accessibility is a clinical advantage. The moment when your patients most need calm, authoritative information are often the moments when they are not sitting at a desk ready to watch a video. So they are in the moments of anxiety and uncertainty that happens in between. Audio reaches them there. So there is also something about the intimacy of a voice in your ear that is uniquely powerful in healthcare. It feels like someone talking to you directly, not presenting at you. That personal quality builds a different kind of connection than a website or a brochure or even a very good video can achieve. Audio reaches people in the moments of uncertainty when they need clarity the most. That is the window where trust gets built, and it is a window your podcast can be open in even when your office is closed. If this was useful, subscribe. I put out videos like this regularly for podcasters and content creators who are building something they can actually sustain. I also write a free weekly Substack that goes deeper on topics like this: episode templates, industry playbooks, plus audio and lightning guides. Link is in the description. Have a question about starting a healthcare podcast? Drop it in the comments. Your specialty, your patient base, or topic you get asked about most. I'll share it a few episodes ideas specific to your practice. So see you on the next one.